Welcome back to Miss Joan Uncut with me, your host, Miss Joan. Yeah, back with another video. And as you can see by my thumbnail and my title, you already know what it is. I want to first thank all my subscribers and my day ones, my new subscribers for definitely coming through, supporting me. I really do appreciate you because if it wasn't for you, I would not probably be coming back. Okay, so you know how we do over here. We spectate. We do not in any shape or form participate in the drama. Okay, we don't do that. And you know how we do. We like to get right into it. So let's get right into it. Whoo, child. So it took me a minute to get my notes for this interview. As you can see, we are discussing today. SeanDavieWay just recently did a video with Jaguar Wright's youngest son, Sam Jr., and it was a story. And I even caught myself tearing up, actually dropping a tear this time. There was a reason why Sean put trigger warning because it definitely can be triggering. So I'm not going to waste your time. We're going to get into it. So pretty much the interview starts where Sean is contacting Sam Jr. and Sean starts off the conversation with asking how Sam Jr. was doing. He pretty much responded that everything was doing very well, right? So then it goes on to where Sean asked Sam Jr., where does he work? And he pretty much let him know that he works at a children's museum as a play worker and he really enjoys his job. So then Sean go ahead to ask him another question. He pretty much asked him like, well, I know you wanted to be in the Air Force, and it's always been your goal. So Sam replies, yes, it's a process, it's slow, but especially because he has a lot of paperwork to go through. And also he has to go through a lot with his medical history. All right. So as the conversation is going, Sean then asks about what happened to him getting into the Navy. Now, if you remember in my video with Sam Sr., the father, he mentioned the reason why Sam Jr. did not get into the Navy is because of a diagnosis or a mention of, not diagnosis, excuse me, a mention of schizophrenia that Jag had them put on a damn record, child. And it pretty much followed him until the Navy. And so pretty much he did not get into the Navy. So Sam goes to respond that there were two things he learned after being disqualified from getting into the Navy. One of them being that he was unable to get the medical paperwork from the hospital that Jag had signed him into when he was a child at the time when they were pretty much going through like a custody battle, the Jag and Sam Sr. And this was around that time. So Jag signed him into a hospital alleging that he had schizophrenia, right? And he tried to keep those details light because I guess he was aware that by the Navy seeing those, that word on the paperwork, it can definitely keep him, which it did keep him from getting into the Navy. So the next he said, he also tried to cover some paperwork of his medical history, when his father was getting the information from when he finally got custody of Sam Jr., right? And he noticed himself by looking at his paperwork that a lot of it was incorrect and it wasn't right. And this is the main reason why he was not able to get into the Navy. And so Sean goes to ask, so do he believe the paperwork that he was trying to get, was he trying to debunk what Jag was pretty much claiming that he was schizophrenic? And Sam goes to explain when they did get the paperwork from the hospital, he agrees that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to debunk that he had it. But when he got the paperwork from the hospital, they were able to confirm that he was never diagnosed with schizophrenia. But just because the word was even mentioned on his medical history, it pretty much just disqualified him. And so, he realized he would have been given a really good bonus and he would have been definitely qualified to go into the Navy, right? So then Sean goes to ask how things was going with him and his dad, and he replies that they were doing very well and that hopefully him and his father, with him working, it will be able to help take some of the load off his dad's back. So then Sean goes to ask Sam if he had spoken to his grandmother Frances. He said yes, she's doing well. She's very happy to hear from him whenever he speaks to her. Sean then goes to ask next, has he spoken to his mother, Jaguar Wright, recently? And Sam replies, it has been months. Okay. It has been months since he's spoken to Jag. And then Sam goes to say that he's been wanting to talk to Jaguar, right? His mom, because after doing some deep thinking about the things him and his mother went through over the years, it's made it a little uncomfortable, right? For him to talk to Jag, which I'm sure we can all agree why that is. So, he, after considering almost everything, she's done, he pretty much feel like it was not 100% of kindness, right? Now, you have to understand something. Sam Jr., you could just tell he's just really innocent. He's a really good kid, man. Like, just listening to him talk, please shout out to SeanDavieWay. Please go over to his coffee. You have to hear this interview for yourself, because he's very technical. He's very intelligent on how he breaks things down with his situation with his mother. These are just notes, in my opinion. But if you really want to understand like everything he was saying and get a better grasp, please go over to Sean's coffee. It's emotional. It really is emotional. So then Sean asked, well, what makes it uncomfortable for you wanting to, reach out to your mom? So Sam Jr. goes to states that, he's been suspicious ever since after November. So he goes in to where he explains, I guess, some years prior, he spoke to an uncle. I believe he said Uncle Danny. And he will always mention how Sam will act different between Jag and his father, Sam Sr., right? And honey, this is when. So let me put that trigger warning up, child. So he pretty much starts off where he remembers when he was 8 or 9 and he was living in New Jersey with his mom, right? And at the time, he was making like a racetrack in a mulch, right? They lived in a mansion. And Jag told him not to go too far down into the mulch because there was broken glass there. Now, again, you have to listen to how he explains this. But he does go to say that he told his mom, okay, he wouldn't do it. But him being a kid, he still made his way down to the broken glass. Now, though he did not injure himself, Jag saw him buy this broken glass, and she took that as pretty much he broke his word to her. So, child, what Jag did next was she chose to whip him on his back with an extension cord, and he molded over this for years, right? And he wanted to know why an extension cord, right? Because in his head, he's like, he knows that is something that's very dangerous, and used on a child, especially at that age, it can do some damage. And while talking to his aunt, he says that he did not want to look at this as a form of child abuse, right? But after speaking with his Aunt Shell, she agreed herself that, yeah, this was abuse. And from then at that age, he learned that he never wanted to get on his bad side, right? He feared her. And I would think anytime a child is being beaten with an extension cord, child, that's got to do something to you psychologically. And oh Lord. So then the conversation goes on to where Sam then goes to say that when he was talking to his aunt, he learned all these things, and that he also learned some things that happened to his older brother Giovanni. Now, if you don't know, Giovanni is deceased. This is Jaguar's Wright's oldest son, and because his brother wasn't around really, he didn't really see a lot, but he witnessed enough, right? So he learned from his family that Jag treated Giovanni unharshly. Granted, this is all coming from Sam Jr., okay? I want to say allegedly, but this is coming from someone who lived it. So we're just going to go with that. Sam knew, right? So we're going for it. Sam knew that he was the favorite. That means Jag had to make that very obvious, okay? Very, very obvious that he was the favorite. And I can only imagine how like that made Giovanni feel. So then he feels like out of them two, Sam Jr. got the mental abuse and Giovanni got the physical abuse. And then Sam goes to say that his aunt told him that when Giovanni was younger, Jag treated him very harshly as well. And what happened next, it made me just pause for a second. So then he goes to state that he was told that when Giovanni was, younger, his Jag would make him do push-ups as a form of abuse, right? You're about to see what I'm about to say, but a form of punishment. But he also learned that she was making him do this while his arm was broken, his arm. And she forced him to keep going to do these push-ups, even though his arm was broken. And that now these are his words, that even she would enforce a weapon or using a weapon. Now, he didn't clarify whether he used it or it was just there as a threat, but this is what he was told. And so, the aunt was there, and you'll see why I keep bringing the aunt up when it comes to Giovanni. So then Sam goes to further explain and remember the time, or he was told, but he also remembered a time where it was two incidents where I guess Giovanni and Jag had a falling out. But he does remember one time it was him and Jag, Giovanni, and one other person, and he felt that Jag held a knife to Giovanni's throat. Now, I believe this was all being told to him by the Aunt Shell. And he said, even though he did not witness it, he can believe it because when them two were around each other, there was a lot of tension. So then Sam goes on further, saying, now looking at things now, he believes that why Giovanni went into that house to do that heist, before his death, was because Jag pretty much instilled fear in him as well. So what I gather from that is just based off their treatment and how she was to them, it just caused a chain and effect of child. It took me a minute to get through this, okay? So then he goes to fast forward to like the time that where Jag was extradited to Chicago. Now, Sam Sr. already went in Sean's interview prior, how, she pretty much was arrested for child abduction. So while she was in Chicago, Sam was with his father, and he felt like at that time Giovanni was doing really good mentally, right? He was doing really good. But then when Jag got out of jail, she pretty much went back home and placed all the blame on him for not keeping Sam Jr. while she was locked up. So she pretty much felt like it was his responsibility to keep him and not let Sam Sr. take him. And he kind of believes that's what kind of started like a resentment towards Giovanni. So Sam goes to state that Jag was now these are his words, Jag was motherly from an objective standpoint, as being very vindictive, possessive, and narcissistic as a person. And if you make any personal stand against her, she will then go at you until she feels she has gotten her payback. Her own son is saying this. This is someone who's dealt with her on a way deeper than any of us can imagine. And even he sees that she's very, very revengeful. So then he goes to say, she's obsessive over the few successes that she had in her life. And she is willing to chase them down. She's willing to chase down her past until she becomes a shadow of her former self. When I say he was talking deep, he was talking deep. Okay. Not this thought, the way his outlook on everything was so innocent. He really loves her. But because of everything she put him through, he just can't deal with her. And I just think that was like the most heartbroken part of the whole scenario. Because when you hear it in his voice, you could just hear like he really loves Jag. It's Jag, right? So he pretty much goes to say, she becomes a shadow of her former self. Sean does go ahead, and then he asks Sam, does he believe that Jag has become a former self? And Sam responded, yes, he does believe that. Sam believes that Jag has a singing voice to make it but she doesn't know how to do that in the present, and that hasn't really changed at all. This is all coming from Junior. Okay. Then he goes to say, it's apparent that Jack hasn't made any money over the years. He's realizing now, like, through everything, she has not made any money. And because, she's relied on her mother's wealth, to this point, she's relying on it all the time. So remember when Jack had her mom dragging her mom around with her in Texas and in Louisiana, and, was using up her money. And this was what Legina was saying. If I'm not mistaken, Legina said that. And I'm just like, wow. And so, he really feels like now that he looks at things, he realized that Jack has never had to deal with utilities or taxes because she's always relied on other people's money like she does now. She has literally gotten by in life just living off of other people. Like, there's no tea, no shade. It's just what it is. And so Sam feels like Jack has been running away from her possible future. Sean then goes to ask Sam, does he think she's afraid to face the future because of its unknown? And Sam replies, he don't think it's the unknown, but more that she's afraid of what's going to happen eventually. He feels that part of Jack is conscious of what she's doing. So he's saying he feel like, she's aware of her actions. It's just that she's so busy chasing her past and her success from when she was a celebrity star or a celebrity, she's still stuck there. And she is like, everything he's saying is no lies being told as far as like how she's behaving. So then Sam goes to say Jag is not dumb, right? She's not dumb. She's intelligent, but she chooses her way to escape from the future. This is her way to escape her future. Sean then asked Sam, the mansion that they stayed in when he was 8, how long did they stay there? Sam goes to say they stayed there for a couple months after being evicted from a house in New Jersey due to the failing to being able to afford it. And I believe this is a house that was left to Jag by her father. Sean then goes to ask, is there anyone else staying at the mansion with them? So at the time they were staying there, was there anybody else? Sam goes to say he remembered there was a man by the name of Justin and his daughter named Maddie, and that the young lady and him would hang out on the weekends. Now, going back to Sam Sr.'s interview, he did mention the time that he was not able to pick up Giovanni no more. I'm sorry, not Giovanni, Sam Jr. anymore. And when she kept him from him was a time where Jag was dating a man that had a daughter. So it's just amazing how this story is just goes so well together. This is how you just know, child, like ain't no lies being told. And so then Sean does ask, like, how was it living in the mansion? Like, was it pretty much upkept? Sam goes to say the house was furnished, but there were some things that needed looking after. Like, there was a broken glass in the front. And the first thing I thought was, damn, was they squatting? Like, did they break into a mansion? People do that. Mansions that have been abandoned for a very long time. But then he said there was a bowling alley that wasn't kept apart. And he really says it's because due to Jack's connections and popularity at that time, someone pretty much gave her the mansion job and told her as long as she can keep it up, she can live there. Girl, you was given a mansion and you couldn't even keep that up to keep a roof over your son and your head. Oh, child, I'm trying not to judge now. Okay. So then Sam goes to say, that out of all the men that Jack dated, and he named Justin, Steroid, and even Gerald, aka Goomba, Sam's relationship with all of them was very nice. The only issues that arise were with Jag. So pretty much everything will be going fine until Jag decide that it's not going to go fine anymore. So then Sam goes to ask Sean, did he witness any abuse with Goomba? Because if you remember, Jag was out here saying Goomba was beating on her, he abused her allegedly, and that Sam Jr. witnessed this. So he responded with, no, he's never witnessed any violence, no abuse. The only thing he ever witnessed was arguing and yelling, and he knew that it was nothing more to it. So he knew once it was done, it was done. So then he stated that, that never happened, child. And Who she out here could ruining people's lives with her lies, and she don't care. And y'all be thinking like maybe other people attack her. I act a fool. I'm shady as shit. But this needs to be called out. And by Sean doing these interviews, it seems like it's bringing a very bright light to just her past and how it's now reflecting to her future. Just that's just my opinion. So then Sean goes to ask that, does he remember when they was with Steroid in Louisiana and being put out and sleeping on floors? Child, Sam let out a hearty ass laugh. Okay, that laugh was hearty, and he said that he has been through the eviction process 4 times. You heard that right. When he was young, she put him through the eviction process 4 times. And then Sean asked him, like, how did that make you feel? Well, he goes to say that at one time he would get so anxious when he would see the eviction notice on the door, because he knew that all their things were getting ready to be placed outside. So he would go to Jag, and Jag would nonchalantly be like, oh, it's fine, don't worry about it, it's fine. Those 4 evictions instilled on Sam that nothing will last long and that nothing was permanent, right? And this is this mindset that he had for quite some time. He's saying having to lose so many drawings, games for his Nintendo Switch, and the clothes he had stuck with him. So the fact that he lost things at the time that he deemed very important, it stuck with him, because now he's thinking, no matter what I have, it's never going to last long. It's never going to be mine. But then Sam does go to thank his father, and he says a lot of the things that he has gotten with his dad, like his friends, his academic achievements from when he was a senior in high school, his clothes, and his childhood things, his father still has to this day, child. And when I say I salute to you, Sam Sr., because honestly, I don't think he would have made it as far as he did if he did not have you in the corner. Because I really hate to say this, but clearly Giovanni's father wasn't around, and Giovanni's no longer here. And if he maybe had a parent there to help, Lord have mercy. So Sam Jr. really feels as though everything that he had with his mom has vanished. His words, they vanished. So Sean then goes to ask that during this time where Jag was forced him to go on lives. I don't know if you remember when he was with her, she would go on lives and make him get in the camera. And this, around the time they was in Freeport, was he afraid of Jag? Sam states that he didn't show it, but he didn't have a lot of confidence, and he was still mulling over the failing of college, and he shut himself off from everyone. And because of that, he knew things weren't right between him and between Jag and his dad, along with Goomba. But he knew that Jag would try to silence him, so he stayed quiet. And because he didn't have it in him to fight back, he just knew that if he did, what happened to Giovanni would happen to him. That is exactly what this young man said. Child, talk about trauma. Sean then goes to ask, do he think that the moment he was 8 and she used that extension cord, was that the time, like, is that when he was silenced, where he felt like he couldn't combat, he couldn't speak up, he didn't have his own opinion? And he agreed. Yeah, he's a strong yes at that. He says the only time he states that he spoke up and voiced his opinion was around the time when she was with Goomba and the whole barbershop incident, and she was spreading Giovanni's ashes on her, child. That's still disturbing to this day. I can't get it out my head. And, he said he didn't stand with that with Jag, and because of that, it was a very bad look, and he didn't agree with it. And that was the only time he was divisive. Sean then goes to ask if he felt how he felt about Jag and did what Jag did to Giovanni's ashes. Sam goes to state that he never seen that video, but he heard about it and he felt very disgusted, his words, because those ashes were sacred. I agree. Sean then goes to ask Sam, being the favorite, you know, being that he's the favorite or was the favorite, does he think Jag ever loved Giovanni? Child, Sam took a break and a pause, and he said, you know, he think there was love there, but it was very, very deeply. Again, you have to hear this interview for yourself. If you haven't, I knew then, like, she did not, child, I don't know if she ever loved him, but that's just my opinion. So then he believes that, you know, the cycle of bad parenting came from Jag's childhood. So what I got from what he was saying is because Jag was raised, I guess, with parents who probably didn't do the best by her, it also goes down to his grandparents not being done the best by their parents, his great-grandparents. And this is what we call generational curses. You know, it's passed down from generation to generation until somebody breaks that chain. And unfortunately, it bled over into him. And just, I pray when he has a family, it stops with him. So then Sean goes to mention that Jag wanted to come visit not too long ago and that he declined. Child, let me tell you what Sam said, okay? Sam responds with, well, her asking to visit came more off like a demand and that it was some backdoor dealing. So what Jag said was, look, something going fishy on with your daddy is some backdoor dealings, and I really think you should leave and come live with me, you know, because if his father gets into a tough spot or a terrible spot, that he would need to move with her right away. And I'm like, here she go with the scare tactics, right? Trying to put fear in your heart. How the hell would you know what the hell Sam Singer doing, ma'am? You too busy out here getting butt naked and dance. Okay? How would you know what somebody, you know what? Okay, let me get back to the commentary. Woo! Okay. So then Sam goes, and he pretty much say, you know, he knew it was no truth to it. He knew because this is something that she has always done. So he mentions, you know, that it hurted her to see that she was still using this tactic, right? He remembered her doing this before his Christmas break when he was in college. He stated he called her. At this time, he was like pretty much depressed. He wasn't speaking to no one, his friends, not even his dad. He called Jag to tell her and to open up about his bad grades and I guess how he just wasn't doing well. And she told him that he needed to come down to where she was. And at the time, I guess he spoke to his dad about it, but he couldn't because he had prior obligations. So they decided to maybe do it for the spring. So Sean then goes to ask Jag, you know, did she ever give you any advice about your grades? And Sam pretty much says she did not encourage him to keep the grades up. And when one thing will always happen bad to him or in her life, she would use that as an excuse to keep him with her, right? Like there was a time he states that she wouldn't send him back home because she claimed she had a restraining order against his father, but he believes the restraining order had no value at all. So then Sean goes to ask Sam, you know, what gave him this new form of confidence to stay away from Jag? Whew. And then he goes into some more. Sam goes to state that, you know, going through the Navy, this all comes down to the Navy, child. This all comes down to the Navy. Sam states that when he was going through the Navy process, he passed the ASVAB test. He had a promising job waiting on him already, and that he even had a recommendation for the nuclear. He also stated that once he would have finished that, he would have had someone there to help him continue the process, and it gave him so much confidence, you know, but when it didn't go through, he didn't give up. He knew there was a place for him. And it was times like that if he did not have his dad, he would be homeless or worse off than Jag. That's what he said. He said if it wasn't for his dad, he would pretty be in a worse predicament than Jag, you know, but the fact that he kept his confidence, kept trying, now he is working towards the Air Force. This is a prime example when you have a parent that really, really sticks by you by any means necessary. Okay, and I'm so happy he had his father. So he feels like it's giving him courage to keep going, you know, and because of it, he now has a job. And with this job, he has a newfound confidence. He now can get his driver license. He can start making payments to his loans, and he can even go back to college. So you can tell by listening to this interview that Sam confidence, he's feeling good about his future. He's feeling hopeful. And I'm putting all the positive vibes, and I'll definitely make sure I say a prayer that he gets into the Air Force, because many of my friends are in the service and their life has turned around tremendously behind it. So I'm praying that happens for him too. So Sam then replies, you know, well, Sean, let me wait, moving fast. Sean then asks him, you know, did she ever encourage you to even work, you know, have a job? Sam replies, she didn't discourage him, but she didn't encourage him at also. You know, he said, she let him do things at his own pace, but he didn't even know where to start to look for work. All his friends at the time out of high school were working and had jobs, but he didn't even know how to start looking and where to look for work. So he thought he can do something with his art, and Jag ass sat up here and started offering him signing deals, child. Signing deals. Signing deals. And then he said he eventually realized it led him to nothing but a pipe dream. So then Sean goes to ask, you know, more about the Navy situation, and asks, did it make him look at his mother any differently? Well, Sam replies that it did definitely make him look at his mother differently, that learning from his aunt that Giovanni even looked in, oh child, hold on, wait a minute. Because this part right here had me angry, child. When I say angry, let me get my composure. So then Sam goes, child, and responded that he learned from his aunt that Giovanni looked into going to the Army himself. He was unable to do so because Jag requested for him to go to juvie instead, child. Juvenile detention. So Sam learned that from his aunt that Giovanni was in trouble for some shoplifting incident, and Jag's family showed up to the court to attest to his good behavior to help prevent the time they were trying to give him. Jag ass forced and requested that he goes to juvie instead. And this is where Sam believes the resentment that Giovanni had for his mother started. This is when Giovanni was still young. Whew. And Jag pretty much forced and requested for him to go to juvie, so he did not go to the Army. And that could have changed his life. Sam believes that that's why Jag used those type of situations as punishment, why she's so cruel in her punishment. I'm saying cruel. He didn't say that, but it was cruel. To try to show him and Giovanni what consequences are like. You know, he felt like that's what the extension cord, like he felt like she wanted to show them like this is what happens when you don't do right, but the punishment was so extreme. So then baby Sean jumps in and he like, well, he clarified there is a difference between discipline and abuse, and that was abuse, and I agree. And you gotta listen, because it was deep. That section was, Sean ran that down. He broke that down. So then Sam believes that, you know, the abuse that Jag did to Giovanni ended up backfiring and causing hatred towards Jag. And then Sean goes to ask and say that the abuse that Giovanni experienced from Jag possibly could have made it worse, and maybe why he started going down the road that he was going, I'm assuming. So then Sam stated that the only reason why Giovanni really was able to tell any of this is because he was close. He felt like he only had his aunt Shell. So then Sean went to explain pretty much, you know, why he stopped combating with Jag on YouTube. And it was because he knew Sam Jr. was watching YouTube. So he stopped doing videos on Jag on YouTube, period. He still does them on Discord though. But I love you, Sean. Yes, he did stop doing the videos on YouTube. But he definitely do them on Discord. No tea, no shade, just pointing it out. So then, you know, I agree with Sean though, right? He goes to say that, you know, he don't feel like the interview, like Sam was being disrespectful. He wasn't disgracing Jag. And I agree. I feel like he was just telling his experience, his story of what he went through and what it was like. right? And so Sean goes to ask Sam, do you think Jag did the best that she could? Sam replies that she feels like, despite having to move around a lot, the kind things that she did do for him was an act of kindness. It was kindness coming from her. And so he felt like that was the best she could do. And he thinks that, her being a mother, he thanks her for being his mother, though he lost his artistic passion. So not only did he lose his chance in the Navy, he also lost his passion for being, his work to be an artist. Child, I'm telling you, a parent will strip you away from your damn dreams, child. Okay. And he said, he has a different stance on Jag when it comes to subjects with her. Like, that's his mama. So I can understand why he made things we're harsh on her about, he may be a little bit more lenient on. So then Sam would like for Jag to acknowledge that enough is enough at times, right? Sean then goes to ask Sam, does he want her to be done with all this madness, right? He agrees. He said, yes, I want her to be done with it. I want her to be over it. I'm completely done with it myself. Sam then goes to say, now this is his words, not mine. Okay, he goes to say that the blood has boiled far long enough and that it has been released into the air as a mist. And he quoted a movie he said he don't like to really quote. It says, let the past be the past. So then Sean goes to mention that Jag past is the only time she had success, and that's why she keeps reliving it, because the past has her happiest moments in her life. Sam agrees. He says he totally agrees the early 2000s was her happiest. I feel like her kids should have been her happiest. That's just my opinion, because maybe she would have did better by him, but I digress. So then he goes to say, but he believes that it has become a curse instead, because she's been chasing that time where she felt her best, and chasing the past have her abandoning the present. When I say the way he talked is so just intelligent, okay? So then he goes to say she's missing out on new joys that she can have now, and that Sam gave a beautiful speech, honey. He gave such a very beautiful speech about the experiences that the present can offer you. And I said, look at him. You better drop that knowledge. So then Sean goes to ask if Sam would like a relationship with his mother. Sam responds, yes, he would like one, but it's hard to try to connect with her after all that has happened. He does still love her, but it's hard for a child like him to find how to build a relationship considering the person who is behind the abuse. I did not write that. He said that. That is how he talks. I said, Daddy doing right by him. Sam then goes to say he does love Jag, but it will never be the same because of the abuse. He used the term abuse. So I think he's to a point in his life now where he's looking back at the things she did, and he's actually referring to it as abuse. So this is pretty much the ending of the interview. Sean states that he doesn't think it's a child responsibility to figure that out. No matter the child's age, it's the parent's job to figure out that, especially being she is the one who caused the damage. It should be her to try to fix the relationship. And the relationship should pretty much be a simple one. And Jag has to figure that out. And I totally agree. So what my overall thoughts of this interview was a young man who loves his mother dearly, who didn't really quite understand a lot of the things he endured while being with her, with the evictions and the extension cord, and maybe how she would argue around him. And now that he's become a young man, he's now realizing a lot of the mistreatment that him and his brother dealt with just was never okay. And he would like to mend the relationship with his mother, but it's Jag we're talking about. And all she would do is manipulate. And the moment he sticks up for himself, and this is what I took. I really honestly think Sam is afraid to really speak up or stand his ground with Jag, because he's afraid that Jag would end up pretty much disowning him the way she disowned Giovanni. Based off this interview, that's what I sense. I sense he loves her. You know, he wants to build something, but I think he knows that if he do try, I just feel like until she get the necessary help, he definitely should stay away from her. I feel like he's on a good track. I feel like he has a lot of good things going for him. And I feel like if he gets too intertwined with Jaguar, right, he can go down to a completely different opposite of what he's doing. That's just my perspective of it. I can be mean and harsh to Jag about some of the things he said. I don't really believe in beating a person with a down, but I am sick to my stomach. I've been thinking about it all day. After I finished it, it's just kind of been lingering in the back of my head. Just the fact that he went through the things he went through, and then she sits up on this internet and everybody's the bad guy, and just hearing his story just gives me a different perspective of Jag. That like, this is just how she's always been. And it doesn't matter what we say. It don't matter how much we drag her. It doesn't matter how much we point out the obvious. In her head, she's in a completely different world. And I agree. I feel like she's constantly chasing who she once were, because that was her identity. Jaguar, Wright, the singer, and she's not that anymore. And that's why she acts a fool and she turns on the camera whenever chance she get, and she go live because that's the only time she gets any type of attention that she once used to get. Child, I can go on and on, but I don't want to make this video too long. I do want to thank you if you stuck through. I hope you subscribe, like, and comment below. Let me know, did y'all hear this video? Let y'all know. I will be posting the link to this interview in the description box, so please check that out. Let me know, did you hear the interview yourself? You know, did it make you look at Jag did you have empathy for her? You know, do you look at her differently? And I just ask that everyone just put out all the positive vibes that they can for Sam Jr., and that he gets into the Air Force, and that everything works out in his favor. If you made it through all of this, you're a real one. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. You know how we do over here. Smooches. And y'all make sure y'all have a blessed week. Call me, I look at you, I feel something.